meeting to order at 6:01. Madam Clerk, can
This meeting is being recorded.
Yes. Director Gould.
Present.
Director Orzali is absent. Director Wood.
Aye, here.
Director Sheets.
Present.
Director Jones.
Here.
Director White.
Here.
Director Clark.
Present.
Director Sailors.
Here.
And Director Kelly is absent.
At this time, we can do the pledge to the flag if Art can bring that up on the screen. I pledge allegiance
To
the
to the
flag
flag of the United
States
States
of America,
The Republic.
To the Republic.
Republic
for which
for
it
which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation, under God, indivisible, with
with
liberty
liberty, and
Justice
and
justice
justice for all. Thank you, everyone. The Metro Cable announcement. The open session meeting is videotaped for Cablecast on Metro Cable 14. The replay is Monday, July 12th at 6 p.m. and Wednesday, July 14th at 2 p.m. on Channel 14. Webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Now we have the public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district jurisdiction, including matters on or not on the agenda. Do we have any speakers, Madam Clerk?
I did not have anyone contact me in advance, but Art, if you can please unmute all attendees so they have the opportunity.
Yes, working on that.
Thank you.
Attendees, you currently have the ability to unmute yourselves. If there's anything you would like to present to the board, please do so now. Looks like no response.
Thank you.
Hearing no public speakers, we move on to the consent item. Do we have any questions on the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I'd move the consent.
I second it.
Thank you. We have Director Woods moving it. We have Director Clark seconding it. Can we call the roll, please?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
And Sailors.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the action items. We now have a nomination of special districts representative for the Sacramento County. Chief Harms, this is up your alley.
Okay. Tonight, we're going to ask the board to nominate one candidate for the special districts representative for the Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee. The County of Sacramento is conducting the selection process for special districts. The representative will sit on the Treasury Oversight Committee. He will review, or she will review of investment policies, protocols, investment funds, quarterly review of investment, and then an annual audit. The position is open with the retirement or the moving on of Amanda Thomas, who represented us on this position and has resigned. Nominations by the district governing board will be submitted. We can submit up to July 16, 2021. Our recommendations to the board is to consider recommending Ron Impejad as the candidate on the special district representatives for the Sacramento County Treasury Oversight Committee. I will take any questions.
Do we have any questions from the board?
No questions, Madam Chair. Just Chief, I think that's a great recommendation. I'm prepared to support it. Thank you.
I second that.
Yeah, I'd move staff's recommendation. It's a great opportunity for Ron Impejad.
Second.
All right. Sounds like we have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Director Gould.
Aye.
Wood.
Aye.
Sheets.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
White.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
and Sailors.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to reports. President's report, we have none. Thank you. Now we move on to the fire chief's report.
Good evening again, directors and president tonight, sailors. I'm going to break tonight's report into 3 parts. I'm going to give just a little bit on mine, but then I'm going to turn it over to Chief Wagaman, who's going to talk about the 4th of July and CRRD, and then give Chief Mitchell an opportunity to follow up after that with the operation side of it. For us on recruitment, we have an SRP EMT and the SRP paramedic recruitments are both open right now. We, till the end of, I think it's next week, we still have an open recruitment for the lateral EMT and paramedic firefighter positions. And we also have a business applications analyst position that is open. At the end of June, we saw the retirement of Pete Danlowski. Pete had been with us for 31 years, over 40 years in the fire service. Had an opportunity to talk with Pete and wish him well on his next adventures moving forward. Meetings wise, we had the California Metro Fire Chief Monthly call. We had the 4th of July, the staffing of that, and for all the exec staff being involved over the weekend. We had an opportunity to go down on Tuesday and meet with the Fire Academy. We have 22 recruits that are in there, and Tuesday was their first day of 18 weeks over at Station 21. Just had an opportunity to sit and talk with them for just a little bit of time over there. And then Chief Mitchell covered for me this week, but we had 5 badge pinnings for the SRP Academy 21-1. So that ends my report for it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Chief Wagaman for a little update on CRRD and the 4th of July. Chief Wagaman.
Thank you, Chief. I'm actually going to pass the mic to Chief Mitchell for just a moment, then I'm going to dovetail right behind him.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So a little curveball there, Chief. Sorry about that. Good evening, Vice President, Sales Directors, Chief Harms. We're gonna actually start off. I've got a little help from my friends tonight. I brought in some high-powered reinforcements. Captain Bryce Mitchell is going to start us off with an air operations update and what's been going on over there. So, Captain Mitchell, if you would.
Good evening. Thanks to Chief Mitchell and the board. Just giving the board a quick update as far as what air operations has been up to lately. There's been a lot of activity. It's been a busy year so far. Wanted to start off with a kind of a comparison from last year to this year and some areas where we've had some growth. So just a quick oversight for about 2 or 3 minutes here is that this time last year, we were having significant issues with pilot shortage and staffing, and we had multiple brownouts just due to pilot staffing issues. As well as having some maintenance troubles with the aircraft. So between the cooperation between the board and the fire chief and the local, we've come a long ways in that this year. We've had 0 brownouts due to staffing issues. And we have Copter 2 has just come back, and its increased capability from last year is significant. So it now matches the capability of Copter 1. This is going to obviously result in better service delivery and consistency within the division. We've also had a busy season so far in the terms of on the rescue side of things. We've had multiple hoists, a lot of firsts for us in the last couple of months. One of the pilots that we hired on is completed his first hoist up in El Dorado, or I should say Placer County up near Downeyville with a critical patient. We had a kind of a record hoist out in El Dorado County less than a month ago where we actually hoisted out 4 individuals on this one call in extremely difficult terrain, hard to get to, and we're able to egress them. And then on the night of the 2nd of this month, we had a night hoist, which was a big one for us. For a very critical patient. This is one I can say resulted in absolutely life saved. If they didn't have the resource, the individual, there's no doubt in my mind the individual wouldn't have made it. It was spinal fractures with bilateral femur fractures and multi-system trauma. That there was no other resources available for this night hoist. So it was done through a special call out where we have units that are available for basically call back to Station 115 to respond in the aircraft. So we were able to muster a crew and get resources in a very timely manner. We were, from the time we got the notification, we were en route to the call in an hour. So that's extremely efficient. And we had the patient transported directly to Sutter Roseville about an hour and 40 minutes total from the time of dispatch. So significant accomplishment for the program, and I'm very proud of the crew. They did a very, very good job in their management of the incident. And, you know, it's a good thing to note that, you know, without this resource and the, as we've talked about in the past, the support we've gotten through advancing in our capabilities, there was no other division or no other resource in the area that was going to be able to do that. So without Metro Fire supporting that program, that person in Placer County would not be alive today. But thankfully, they have a good road to recovery ahead of them. So I just wanted to say thanks to the board and thanks to operations and the local for all working together throughout the winter. I think all those decisions and plans that were hashed out together definitely came through for a member of the public a few nights back, and several more throughout the beginning of this season. So that's our operations, and just want to make sure you were informed of a quick update.
All right. Thanks, Captain Mitchell. If you can hang on in case there's any questions, we'll finish up the ops report and the July 4th overview. And if the directors have any questions, we'll hang in there. Good deal. Okay. Great job, by the way. All of those are very positive. And in addition to those hoists, we're still seeing a lot of value in our local incident responses and aerial platform for getting information back to the command post. So doing great work. Keep it up. So from statistics wise, since our last board meeting, we've had 4,154 responses, which is about just under 300 calls for service a day. So right within our high end of what our averages are. We've had 20 total working building fires, with 10 of those being within our own jurisdiction. And no surprise, Engine 53, busiest engine company, and Medic 24 is our busiest medic company for these 2 weeks. So for July 4th, I'll give you a snapshot on what we had happen that day, and then I'll kick it over to Chief Wagaman to talk about the prevention efforts and some of the investigation things that are still ongoing. So we did a few things as far as staffing. We had a couple additional command officers in the system over the weekend, over the 4th of July during our peak times. And we also, for the first time, put in 2 chief officers into our dispatch center that really helped us streamline some of those decisions and some of the move ups and things that we had going on during that very busy day, and actually did a additional day on July 3rd, just as a dry run to get used to what that would look like prior to game day, if you will, there. So comparison overview, the total entered calls for service throughout our region, and it's important to recognize that due to our boundary drops, the regional aspect of our dispatch center, compared between 2020 and this year, on July 3rd, we saw a 10.5% increase over the same day from last year in the number of calls for service. And then on July 4th, we saw a 17.3% increase in total numbers of calls for service in the region. And then on the 5th of July, we saw a 3% increase over what we saw last year. So overall, our call volume for those 3 days over that holiday weekend was significantly increased. And then we're going to look a little bit more at our peak time. And our peak time designated, just based off of historical data, about 6 p.m., we start seeing a little bit of increase, and that goes all the way till 0300 hours on July 5th. So this year, actually, during that peak time, we saw 267 incidents last year. This year, we saw a decrease down to 231 incidents, or 13%, which is a good news during the peak time. We're still looking at some attributable factors. We did have a little bit higher humidity this year, which is good news. But we did see a decrease there. It was still busy. Don't get me wrong. We were still running. And that is in the region. So now I'll go into our own Metro Fire incidents. We had, over those same hours between 6 p.m. and 3 a.m., 95 total fire incidents that were dispatched. To a couple of highlights, we had 18 grass fires. We had 19 dumpster fires, 31 other fires or small fires, things like that were dispatched, 7 residential structure fires, 1 commercial structure fire, and 9 tree fires. So overall, those, and I do want to clarify, those are what was dispatched based off of proximity to the date. We are still finalizing our incident reports. So I didn't want to give you data based off of incomplete information for what the final dispositions of those incidents are. But so you can tell almost 100 fires were dispatched within that time, just in our jurisdiction alone. A couple of highlights, really one highlight that really shows our ability to be flexible and respond when called upon. Up in the North Highlands area, we had 3 different residential structure fires that were all working fires, all within a 1.5 mile radius of each other, within a total time frame of about 40 minutes. They were all fires that were the homes as crews arrived were occupied. We did have our crews remove either through rescue or through assisting folks out of those structures. So that's a really good, a positive, obviously, with our crews getting there so quickly. But the point is that drawdown, when you get a structure fire in an area, it pulls all those resources. Trying to get resources backfilled into that area can take some time. And with it being such a compression with that 40-minute time frame, our crews and incident commanders did a great job of recognizing the proximity to the new incidents, getting resources to the next incident, getting set up, starting to mitigate that fire. And then the third one came in and we did the same thing. So I don't want to, those causes are still under investigation for what they came from, but it was a very good highlight for our ability in our system to be able to flex and respond to when called upon. And then one additional, it was before the holiday weekend on July 2nd, we had a fire off Laval where we did have an additional victim rescue that occurred on a house fire due to somebody that was wheelchair bound. And that person, I'm happy to report, although needed to be rescued, is doing well. And it looks like they will be making a good recovery and being discharged from the hospital in the coming days. So great news there. And with that, I will turn it over to Chief Wagaman to talk about fire prevention, investigations, and some of the things that are still ongoing. So Chief Wagaman.
Thank you, Chief Mitchell, and good evening, directors. Chief Wagaman, Deputy Chief of Support Services. As Chief Mitchell alluded to, a significant increase in calls. We knew this was going to happen. In order to combat this, we had to put together a really solid plan on the CRD side of the house to ensure that we were able to investigate and ensure that we have a good origin on all of these fire types. Really to help push plans in the future and do our best to keep the community safe in a very volatile time period. So working with Lisa Barsdale and Krishana Fields over there, put together a really good plan this year to help combat that. We knew we were going to have a lot of fires and we knew we would have a lot of illegal fireworks activity. So the first thing that they did is they instituted a new training program for our fire inspectors. They trained them all in origin and cause with the goal to help relieve some of the stress on our fire investigators on July 3rd and 4th, so they could be solely focused on illegal fireworks enforcement. And that's exactly what we did this year. That, coupled with them doing a fantastic job just on our fireworks stand inspections, had over 159 fireworks stands that all had to be inspected within a very short time frame before they opened up for business on June 28th. We also had public displays back on the deck this year. I know last year we had to cancel that due to COVID. So we had 4 really good displays. I'm happy to report there were no issues with those displays. And our inspectors did a fantastic job with inspecting and rendering safe all of those display sites. Additionally, we instituted a pilot program for our fire investigators. So that added an additional investigator to our team this year. So with that, we deployed 4 fire investigators. We worked in conjunction with the Citrus Heights Police Department, the Rancho Cordova Police Department, and CAL FIRE, really to take head on some of our challenges with illegal fireworks. We also had, like I mentioned, 2 inspectors assigned to public displays, and the 10 trained inspectors really focus on just origin and cause of fire. They're running from call to call to call to get as much information as possible and determine the cause of each one of those fires, again, freeing up our arson investigators. Now the impact. So during this time frame, we received over 363 illegal fireworks complaints. Of those, our investigators were able to contact folks illegally using fireworks 94 different times. Got 22 occurrences within the city of Citrus Heights, 27 times in Rancho Cordova, and 45 times within the unincorporated area of the county of Sacramento. During those contacts, I am happy to report that our investigators took over 575 pounds of illegal fireworks off the street. I have no doubt that this played into the reduction in calls for service during our peak times as well. There were 2 felony arrests. Unfortunately, I have to report we did have 1 fatal fire. And with that, we have over 75 active fire investigations underway, and we will likely be adding some additional investigations to that as we compile and finish compiling the rest of the data. So with that, our goal is to complete these investigations by the end of the month. And with that, we're all going to sit down, we're going to have a discussion, and we're going to memorialize all of the successes with this program, as well as some areas for growth, so we can do it, again, just a little bit better next year. All in all, your suppression staff, your fire reserves, your community risk reduction folks, as well as your arson investigators and fire dispatch did an incredible job at a very challenging time of the year. So that concludes the operations report. I'd like to pass it back over to Chief Harms.
Thank you, Tyler and Adam, for the reports. Any questions or comments from board members?
Any board
Yes,
members have questions? Okay, go ahead, Gay.
Oh, thank you. I'm not sure if, well, my hand is raised on my computer, but sometimes it's hard to visualize the whole gallery view. My question, this is great information, and I'm looking forward to sharing these statistics with some of my community groups. And so perhaps Chief Mitchell can answer this basic question. Now, all these stats that we've heard from all 3 very good presenters, thank you. What is the time frame from 6 p.m. on the 3rd to 3 a.m. on the 5th? Or could you delineate the days and the times that these stats capture?
Yeah, absolutely, Director. Yes, so it's from 1800 hours, 6 p.m. on the 4th through 3 a.m. on the 5th.
3 a.m. Okay, so it's
that 9-hour window.
So it is the 4th of July.
Yep.
Surge, so to speak. Okay. Thank you. That was my main question. I think I got all the stats. If not, I'll give you one of you guys a buzz and clarify later. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Director Jones. Director Gould, you had your hand up?
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. Really quickly for Chief Harms and the Mitchells, I am interested in knowing a little bit about, as the asset that was described, our helicopter leaves our area and does some of the work that seems to be increasing as they recognize the value of our airships. I'm wondering if we're starting the dialogue with said counties to help us cost recover. I'm super excited to see the expansion of this now almost 20-year-old program, and that's a good thing. We have to be very sensitive, I think, to the fact that that baby's not inexpensive to launch. And there's, I think, a need to start having conversations with county soups and others in these areas that are going to increasingly ask for that asset to be brought to their area. And I think we need to start having the dialogue of how we maintain some kind of cost recovery. I'm assuming that the patients aren't billed the astronomical cost that would include. And so, which isn't such a bad thing, but I think at the end of the day, some of our neighboring counties are once again getting a significant benefit of Metro's support for this and continued support, which I do, but I think we need to start the dialogue with, can they shave off some money out of their general budgets on an annualized basis to help us cover some of those costs? That's the first thing. The second thing is I was approached by someone in the community this week and asked about how we mitigate fires in our wildland interface, which I know was one of the major reasons 1,000 years ago when we did purchase a helicopter and put it in play, is we had a lot of conversations about the risk associated with fires in that urban interface. And so I'm just wondering if this organization is having some consideration of public announcements, whatever you PA, whatever they're called, but we basically run some of those announcements in the community to let them know when they see the big red and white birds flying around and it says Metro all over it, that is a local mitigation tool that's primarily designed to mitigate that urban interface, because I think Gay can recall that that was one of the major reasons that we got behind the helicopter program initially. And I think that is still a significant mission. Captain Mitchell, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is a significant reason it still sits at 115, is so that when that part of our first in area goes up, that we have a tool that's second to none. So I've been long-winded, I apologize, but those are two of my thoughts. Thank you, Madam Chair. And if there's an answer, I'd be interested in hearing it.
So Director Gould, I'll start, and then I'll let Chief Harms have some more detail to provide. I will say that we do have some local contracts for the helicopter already in place. The relationships that the air operations folks have built within the region to make them aware of the resource has been very positive, and you'll see that increase because now folks know that it is an asset that is available out there. And when the calls for service come in, we do a risk analysis and an overview of what incidents are currently occurring, the time of day, what the risk is here, and then always we weigh into what the life threat is, like Captain Mitchell had mentioned regarding the critical patient. All of that information is weighed into whether we give that approval for that mission. And I don't want to take away from the fact that our vast majority of the incidents that the aircraft is flying on are local incidents within that our county jurisdiction and our Metro Fires area for the wildland incidents and water rescues and things like that. I hesitate a little bit. I can't think of a time when we had a copter call that it wasn't available. And I think it's because of some of those factors that we have in place. As far as reimbursement, there hasn't been any initial talks to this point outside of our local agreements that we already have in place, but something maybe we can look into, and I'll pass it over to Chief Harms if there's more information to pass on there.
Chief Mitchell said it very well, is that we are now being asked to go outside of our region. Bryce was talking about a call that the other agencies had said that they could not do it. And now I think you bring it up, is that we have an asset that can go, and now we need to be able to take that and start talking to El Dorado County, to the fire agencies that are there, talking to Placer County and to the region, because we are one of the only ones in the area. And I mean, Bryce was very, very humble as he went through, but the ability to have night vision goggles. And if you remember, we had gotten a portion of those off of a grant and been able to fund things off grant, which is great. But we paid for another portion, or the wireless comms between the rescuer and the helicopter. And so we need to do a better job as we move forward now, going, we'll come, but you need to help us support this. So I'm 100% in agreement with as we move forward. As you saw in the budget, we have this year half the expense to really upgrade the next helicopter. And if we look at and Bryce said it well, and we'll talk more about it here in a second, we've been able to start the plan 24 months ago, being able to get pilots, train pilots, put pilots into the system, whether it's Bryce as a member coming through it, or it is part-time people to eliminate some of those challenges. So again, each one of those we should look at, and I agree 100% as far as how do we get additional funding to support the program.
Chief, I have it on pretty good authority that home values have increased in some of our surrounding counties. So it's not as if these individuals don't have significant budget increases that have occurred. And I appreciate you guys thinking about that, because I'd love to see this thing continue for another, 100 years. But we have to be realist in recognizing that we can't do it off the backs of our citizens that have local needs as well. So thank you very much for that. And congratulations, Captain Mitchell, on such a wonderful increase in that particular division and all the support that senior leadership gives. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gould. Director White, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to first applaud the decision to up staff, especially with another investigator during the busy 4th of July weekend. I mean, 75 investigations is a pretty incredible number of, knowing the thoroughness that has to be taken there. A lot of work that needs to be done, and to get it done in a short time frame is very commendable. And I also wanted to commend Captain Mitchell and his team for the technical rescue under tough conditions, night operations. I really just want to say great job. Thanks.
Thank you, Director White. I would just like to put my 2 cents in for the helicopters because, as everyone knows, that's my favorite tool on the department. And just Sunday, I can attest that it is used very often out here in my district. Alberta is very much an WUI, as they call it, urban wildland interface. And Chapter 1 was just over my neighborhood on Sunday morning. Well, we had a little grass fire just around the corner from my house. And it was very nice to see Chapter 1 up there circling. And the first in crews were able to handle it without even Chapter 1 having to make a drop. So, but the citizens out here love that helicopter. They absolutely love it. And because of that, I've had Chapter 1 or Chapter 2, whichever one's been available and needed to do some training flights, come out before we had COVID for some of our parades, and they've done a flyover. And the citizens out here really do love that helicopter. And it has been a great asset, and they love to see it. And so I want to thank Bryce Mitchell for all he's done for our air staff and for those helicopters. So thank you very much for those reports. So moving on, does anybody else have any questions or anything they'd like to say?
The only last thing that I would like to say, just as a fire chief, how proud I am of the membership. And we went through it really quick, but just how many people started the planning process last year. As Tyler said, making sure all of our arson or all of our CRD folks were certified. A while ago, they had done some live burns and gone through those things. Plans that have been done on air operations, and then just across operations, is it having the opportunity to get out there and really see our folks, see our members. They knew, they tried to get as much rest as they could during the day. But the first fire that I went to was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and they knew they were going to run strong until 6 o'clock the next day. And the membership on the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and the 5th just did an outstanding job. So thank you again for all the support, and thank you to all the membership that worked so hard over this past weekend.
Thank you, Chief. So moving on to Local 522 report.
Good evening, Vice President Sailors and Board of Directors. I have just a quick report tonight. First off, I want to thank the firefighters, Burn Institute Regional Burn Center at UC Davis Medical Center. Unfortunately, we've had to utilize them for members 3 times in the last 3 weeks. All members are doing well at home. They've been getting follow-up care. Everything's going well. So that's a very, very good outcome. I also want to acknowledge Captain Andy Whaley. He was activated once again through the CPF Cal last team for 2 line of duty death funerals. Everything went as well as could be expected, and it's an outstanding job that he can participate in. As we all know, that is a very challenging situation for not only those involved, but the support mechanisms in that process also. So I really wanted to thank him. Also, as Chief Harms stated, the membership did a great job over this very, very busy and challenging weekend. We still are dealing with staffing problems, which I'm sure is no surprise to anybody. So we're hoping that with the new hiring processes, that's going to make a dent in that a little bit and help out. I'm optimistic with the lateral process. That's going well. The 22 recruits that started this week, looking forward to their graduation day 18 weeks from now. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Mr. McGoldrick. Moving on to committee and delegate reports. The executive committee has not met and our next meeting is to be determined. Communications Center, DC Wagaman.
Good evening again, directors. The JPA Dispatch Board last met via special board meeting on June 29th. During that board meeting, I'm happy to report that we unanimously agreed to a 2-year contract with both locals, Local 150 and Local 856. So great job by Chief Bailey and the leadership team supporting both of those labor groups on a 2-year contract. Additionally, we extended Chief Bailey's executive director contract for 6 months. That concludes my report. Unless you have any questions for me, we'll be meeting again on July 13th for our regular scheduled board meeting.
I do have a question for you. Will you be meeting on Zoom or going back to live meetings?
I have that very question that I've not gotten answered just yet, but I will be happy to forward you the final disposition on that question as soon as I get the answer to it.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
You bet.
Next up is California Fire and Rescue Training, JPA. Chief Harms.
The JPA met on July 6th. The action taken during the meeting was to hire an outside legal counsel for the dissolution of the JPA, starting the process moving forward. That ends the report.
Thank you very much. Next is the Finance and Audit Committee. Usually Director Rosali, but he's absent tonight. Director Woods?
Yeah, good. Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance and Audit Committee has not met since we've last met, and our next meeting is set for August 26, 2021 at 5:30.
Thank you for that report. Next, the Policy Committee, Director Gould.
Policy Committee has not met, and our next meeting is sometime in the future.
Thank you. Now it's time for board members' questions and comments. We'll start with Director White.
I also just wanted to thank the Firefighter Burn Institute for always being tending to our firefighters and making sure that not just their medical needs, but their family support and their psychological needs are met as well. And, once again, just want to commend the Chief Wagaman, the CRRD division, and Chief Mitchell and the operations division for the good work over the holiday weekend and the technical rescue at the Forest Hill Bridge. So thanks.
Thank you, Director White. Next is Director Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, two items to take note of. Correct me if I'm wrong, Director Sailors. June 28th, members of Metro Fire met with senior staff and some directors in regards to moving forward on our diversity program. And I would like to thank senior staff as well as all the members of Metro Fire who participated in that workshop, exchange of ideas, listening session, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was very, very honest, very straightforward, and very professional in all the information that was exchanged. And I'm looking forward to moving ahead on a lot of the issues that were discussed there. So good luck to all of us, and we're going to be working on it. I appreciate everyone's efforts. The second is a small, a very different type of item, just to announce that Sacramento County LAFCO has a new executive officer. Our current one, Don Lockhart, has retired after years of service. I first met Don in the city 26 years ago. And so we have been in professional contact throughout these years. And now I want to congratulate him on his retirement and hope that everyone welcomes Jose Enriquez. Jose Enriquez comes to us from El Dorado County Executive Officer of LAFCO, and he will now be serving with Sacramento County LAFCO. Unanimous decision, we're all wholeheartedly behind him. And I think it will be good for all aspects of governance for our county. And if I think of anything else, I'll pipe back in. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Jones. Next, Director Sheets.
Hi, good evening. Thank you. I just want to wish our three members a speedy recovery. My whole heart goes out to them, my prayers for their family and for them. Thank you to all of our members who worked this incredible holiday weekend, and thank you for their service. And I also want to send thoughts and prayers to our members who were deployed yesterday, and hopefully we get a handle on these fires and they return safely soon. That's all.
Thank you, Director Sheets. Director Wood.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Like has been said, I just want to send well wishes out to all of our members that were injured, and very glad to hear that they are home now and recovering, and hopefully get back on their feet and back in the houses very soon. Also, thanks to Chief Mitchell, Captain Mitchell, also for the Air Ops update. Every life saved just shows that is a program that's worth keeping and pushing forward. With that, I'll have nothing further. Thanks.
Thank you, Director Wood. Director Gould.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, I'd like to call out the maintenance and fleet management folks who prepared all of the equipment that was necessary to run all of the calls that we've heard about tonight, all of the support staff that consistently come to work every day and support the men and women who are out in the front lines of the work that we do. I just want to make sure that they too get a shout out tonight for all of the hard work they do behind the scenes. The second thing is, Chief, I'd like to see if we could have a conversation as an organization as the country opens back up potentially. I know there's a little bit more federal work that's starting to take place, and I know that we've had some conversations about our work at the federal level, and it'd be nice to have just an update of where we're at with that team that we engaged and kind of where their vision is, so that we're there at the table as a participant versus the food item. So if we could just get an update on that, that'd be great. And then it's been said tonight, again, very proud of the men and women at all ranks, all levels, in all of our positions in this organization for the hard work that they continuously do. And I hope that my fellow directors are patient with me as we engage again face to face as that happens. I look forward to it very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Gould. Director Clark.
Madam Chair, I'd like to thank everyone for their presentation. I also am grateful to our members for the job that they did over the July 4th holidays, and special kudos to our Air Ops. I've always supported that program from the very beginning, even when it was controversial, but it's just a great tool as the Madam Interim Chair has mentioned. So yeah, that's just a great program that Metro has, and it definitely has a lot of support from our board. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Clark. And I'd like to follow up and just say that listening to every director's comments tonight just proves how diverse this district is as a fire department. From the mechanics that prepare the rigs to the firefighters on the streets, there is just so many different things that takes a fire department to go out there and do their job to keep those firefighters on the streets. And the ones that were injured, My thoughts and prayers are with them. To everything to keep those helicopters in the air. There is just so many different aspects to keeping this fire district running. I want to thank everyone for everything that they do. This is just a great department. I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And I now call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Director Sailors, this is John Lavra.
Yes.
Before we adjourn, the next meeting is going to be scheduled for 5 o'clock. And in order to change the time from 6 to 5, you need to obtain the consent of the board tonight at the prior meeting in order to move that meeting. So we need to do that now before you adjourn.
Thank you for pointing that out to me. That was the next thing after the word adjournment was. So
Can't do that.
I was just writing down the list.
I would like to move.
Just being technical, once you adjourn the meeting, then the meeting's over and you're technically required to do it during.
Yeah.
the meeting. So
Okay.
We're disadjourned.
We're disadjourned. And the next thing on the list is for us to talk about the next meeting on July 22nd. If anyone has any objections to starting at 5 p.m. instead of the 6, please speak now. Hearing no objections, our next meeting on July 22nd will start at 5 p.m.
Do we need a motion?
no.
Excellent.
And a quick point of information.
Okay.
Is this going to be, do we know yet if this will be a hybrid meeting where we will be some in person and maybe some by Zoom if by preference?
The option is
Yes,
Sorry?
that is correct. Yeah, we will have people here and people zooming in. So
Hybrid.
yeah.
It will
Thank
be
you.
a hybrid. Thank you.
Can we
Anything else
re-adjourn?
before?
no
I call it
Disadjourn?
stay on.
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
All right.